Hey everyone, Colin once again, and welcome back to another vlog on the movie news. Um, on more of the news on the sequel to Jurassic World. Um, I know, following up on how the film is progressing, um, with the director and with the cast and all that, and I know just really quick with the cast. I know a while back they cast three actors. Um, Toby Jones, known for playing a Dobby from the Harry Potter films. Arnim Zola from Captain America: The First Avenger, and then in The Winter Soldier. And I know he was also in The Mist, but he's also just been in other films. So I know he's been cast for the sequel. I know that Ted Levine, who famous for playing Buffalo Bill in Silence of the Lambs, and he was also played Big Bob in the remake of The Hills Have Eyes. He was a bad guy in Jean-Claude Van Damme's Nowhere to Run. He's also in the show Monk with Tony Shalhoub. He's been in a lot of other films. I know he's been casting it as well. And James Cromwell, another veteran actor for a lot of films. From Babe, I Robot, even a younger of him in the '70s mystery comedy Murder by Death, which I also more merely remember him from. But he's just been in loads of other, even Star Trek: First Contact. He was Zephyrin Cochrane. Another film I most remember him from. He's been loads of other films, and he was casted as well. I was like, okay, now with the first film, I want to review the first film. I do when because I want to revisit the sequels because I did those in two parts, actually more than one part actually, because I want to give those a full on one review because I did those in parts. I didn't like doing those though, but or maybe just not just revisit also the first film as well, because if I'm going to do the sequels, I have to involve the first film, and then I'll eventually lead up to the Jurassic World. Um, but so far the three supporting cast members: Toby Jones, Ted Levine, and James Cromwell. Okay, but now I also recently on the news that with this director, which this guy who was directed this film called The Impossible, it was a film with Ewan McGregor, which I have seen a while back. I think I remember not minding the film actually, The Impossible. And I thought there was also a new film that he also directed called A Monster Calls. I think there's one with Liam Neeson where he's a monster or something like that. I haven't seen it though, but I remember The Impossible. I didn't mind. And this film, I think, was also supposed to choose to direct the sequel to World War Z, but I think that film has been delayed. So he's been chosen to direct the sequel to this. And reading up on Bloody Disgusting, the sometimes cinema blend I go to, but for stuff like this related to sci-fi and horror, Bloody Disgusting is stuff I go to as well. That they said they're going to use um, animatronics, practical animatronics like they did for the first three films. Because they even teased a photo, like a Twitter photo, that they're the people that use like the puppeteers and stuff like that. Now, that's one issue I have. That's one issue. If I get to Jurassic World, that's one issue I have. This was the only one practical animatronic they used was with the Dinopatosaurus. Sadly, that was the only thing they had. Even though before when that film came out, there was a photo of Chris Pratt, in character, standing behind a Velociraptor that looked like an animatronic though. But that wasn't the film. All they used was CG Velociraptors. So that was an issue I had. But this is the thing. They said they were going to use some practical effects in Jurassic World, but that was the only thing we got was the Apatosaurus. So I thought they were expecting more of that. Now they said they're going to mix it. They said there's going to be definitely more animatronics in this film, the sequel. if it is, I hope they live up to it, because I could play with the CGI a lot of days, because now it's being overdone and overused, and this is stuff I get in arguments with my brother over, because for his perspective, he doesn't really care how the effects look in the film. He doesn't care whether it's CG or practical. I get into arguments about him because, because from my point of view, I think he's the kind of person who prefers new over old stuff. I mean, like, I bring him like, oh, what about the effects from John Carpenter's The Thing, and stuff from some effects from Big Trouble in Little China, and he doesn't really care. So basically, he doesn't, or all the good makeup, all the old still makeup effects from other films like Aliens, and or even Alligator, I should say. There's one right there behind me, or stuff like that, and The Relic, and even the effects from the first Jurassic Park film. He doesn't really care. Basically, he's just a person who's just he doesn't acknowledge of all the whole but from all those old films, how much time they put into making those things come to life, and the groundbreaking effects for those films, and it just saddens me. He doesn't even acknowledge. He doesn't acknowledge because he thinks that the effects are just effects, whether it's good or, well, it doesn't matter if it's good or bad on that. But this is the thing we just butt heads on. But I just say the fact because I just look back on all those old from the 80s and 70s, like Jaws as well, and I'm just an old person who prefers, yeah, there's some good CG I've seen in films of today, like recently Kong Skull Island. That's the King Kong, great looking effects. I acknowledge that. Even if the films are bad, like Godzilla 2014, like I mentioned, good special effects. But sometimes special effects doesn't save the film. But if in this case, if they're trying to go for if they're really gonna mix it like animatronics and CG, do like what they did with the first three films. Not just when like in the first, and like in Jurassic World, where there's just one little bit and that's it, like 1%, and then 99% of it's all CG. I'll be happy if it's 50-50. Like with the first three films, there was a mixture of 50-50 of CG and practical. You know, Jurassic Park 3, good mixture of CG of the Spinosaurus and as well as animatronics of the Spinosaurus. Well done. Though the Spinosaurus was cool when you see it's animatronically made, especially when it was done in the hands by Stan Winston. Even the effects in the sequel, the Lost World, let alone the first film, because they say that the director of the previous film, Jurassic World, told us, says, put a quote right here, says, I think the lack of animatronics in Jurassic World had more to do with the physicality of the Indominus, the way the animal moved. So basically, and how it was very fast and fluid, it ran a lot, and needed more of its arms and legs and neck and tail all at once. So basically, yeah, that's why they CG'd it, because it's a much more faster moving dinosaur, because, yeah, if you use animatronics, it'd be all slow and all this other stuff, yeah. Part of me gets that, though, but still. I mean, at least put some effort in trying. Yeah, if you spot it up close, of course it's going to be an animatronic. People will complain about that, because probably a lot of people appreciate, say that the CG nowadays is better than actual practical stuff. Maybe that's why, because Rick Baker retired and all that, because he couldn't keep up with because everyone was using CG nowadays for makeup and all this other stuff. And I probably said it before, though, but I forget though. In that case, I don't blame Rick Baker for retiring. Because Rick Baker, he's done a whole bunch of good makeup and stuff like that as well. Times change. Well, sometimes some of these little things still can be used nowadays still. At least because they want to go the cheaper way, just using all computer generated stuff for some of these stuff, and they don't want to take actual physical time, effort, and making these, putting so a little bit more money to it. But anyway, reading on, we've written some opportunities for animatronics into Jurassic World 2, because It has to start at the script level, and I can definitely tell you that Boyana, who's going to direct the sequel, has some same priorities. He has all about going practical whenever possible. Yeah, I know. So then that's another thing. Yeah, if you see it, if they do whatever possible, like like when the first Jurassic Park, when it was the T Rex attacking the Ford cars, up close whenever possible, and for the wide shots, yeah, CG whenever possible though. Doesn't have to use it all the time. You don't have to use CG all the time, but yeah, up close at least it'll give me some. Okay, they're using actual animatronics, or when in the Lost World when the two T Rexes were attacking Eddie's car, or tearing it apart. So yeah, up close is practical. When the whole expand shot when they were ripping it in half, yeah, that's a CG effect though. But still, that's a good mixture of quick in and out shots of mixturing of animatronics and practical stuff. Moving on, there will be animatronics for sure. Yeah, but the thing is though, for sure, but for how much in the film? Will follow the same general rule as all the films in the franchise, which is the animatronic dinosaurs are best used when standing still or moving or at the hips or the neck. Yeah, that's what I'm pointing at. Yeah, because if it's up close, yeah, whatever they're using as much as possible. But yeah, of course, when it's wide shot and it's moving all very fast, yeah, of course it does. Well, they didn't use everything down on Rex because everything was CG about it. They can't run or perform complex physical actions. Yeah, and anything beyond that, you can go into animation. The same rules applies in Jurassic Park. Yeah, but yeah, but this is the thing is my brother doesn't get though. He thinks effects is just effects, and he doesn't care whether it is if it's real or not. And like he says, so okay, what about Jaws or Jurassic Park or The Thing, especially the effects in The Thing, and he just says, I don't care how they look. To me, in my mind, he's this guy who prefers new overall stuff. He's just he doesn't. Well, I know he doesn't think the way I do though, but still, he doesn't think to take the time to appreciate how much hard work they put into those effects. John Carpenter's The Thing is a prime example. All those great effects of the alien transformations and all that stuff. That when the dog scene and or or Norris's the chest bursting out scene, or even Aliens. How much of all the good looking effects of the xenomorphs and the alien queen, the eggs. And he's a fan of aliens. He loves aliens, and he doesn't acknowledge that either. Oh, but damn, effects is just effects. It doesn't matter. Yeah, but same thing. If it, yeah, and probably for Predator too. If it doesn't matter if it's a guy in a suit or if it's a CG Predator. To him, that doesn't matter, and he likes Predator. Yeah, but yeah, that's what I'm getting at. I just hope in Jurassic World 2 they live up to that expectation, not just use like 1% of animatronics instead of 99% CG like in Jurassic World. When I get to that review, I'll explain more, but still, I just hope they do more. Like 50-50, I'll be happy with. If it's 40 to 60%, okay, but still. If it's like the mixture of they did in all the the first three films, I'll be satisfied with that. I mean, and I know that a while back there was a photo released, of this girl standing at like a dinosaur museum where the center of it is a Triceratops skull. I'm looking at the picture right now. There was this photo that was released a while back too, hinting some part that's going to be somewhere like off the island. I don't know. Which they say they're going to do more of a darker story. They say they're going to weaponize the dinosaurs and all that. I mean, that's a cliche that was brought up also in the Jurassic World. We're going to use these with Vincent D'Onofrio. We're going to use these as weapons. That's not a cliche. That's done ripped off from other creature feature films before. That gone wrong. But hey, That's what it's going to get into. It's just they hopefully they use more effects, and then the whole again more explaining about the world of practical animatronic stuff like that. I mean, this is what made the old films so great about them, from especially from the '70s and then the '80s, even especially and then also in the '90s as well. Because, but not everything nowadays doesn't have to be 100% CG. Everything, you for some little things you can do some practical stuff here and there, but they just want to go don't be cheap and just do everything not fake looking and even with even good films with some good effects up. I'm just implying they want us to put some a little more time and effort. Yeah, sure. If it costs more, costs more. But at least you're putting some effort into making real things. When you're on screen, it's real and you can see it. Not just one of it's a CG film. You look at something, but you think you're thinking it, but it's not there. You're either staring at a green screen or whatever. Because with actual electronics, you actually see it within the screen with you, because it's real and it's right there with you, or like real enough for you to touch it or whatever. But this is what I'm just getting off what was the word tangent, because I just hope they just actually put more animatronics in this film. If the directors if this the director of the first film saying this guy's gonna do more animatronics, the director of this film. Yeah, which they said everyone they said um people felt like there was a bit too much CGI in the 2015 hit film. So yeah, too much. Yeah, well, we were saying 99% of it, or 99.9% of it was too much CG. Yeah, I mean they could have done the Dominus Rex a little bit animatronics. Oh, because it was moving too fast and all that, all the stuff they did the film, like grabbing people, or tossing things, or whatever. I don't know. But I just hope they live up to this, because otherwise I'm just really gonna start complaining, because this is my favorite this is my favorite franchise, you know, because I like dinosaurs growing up. That's why this is my favorite film franchise. So I just hope they just do that, put more effort into it, time as well. And if they do that, I'll be a little more forgiving on that. And I'm sure that Chris Pratt will do good in the film as well when it comes out, because it opens out on June 22nd of next year, 2018. And I think it was Chris Pratt was be a nice addition to the Jurassic Park universe, because from his hit from Guardians of the Galaxy now into the Jurassic World franchise, Jurassic Park franchise, excuse me. So yeah, I'm going on long enough. I'm not going to 20 minutes on this thing, so I'm better stop right here now. But yeah, this is my little thought, though. I'm sure people agree or disagree, though. That's your opinion. I just had to express some of my stuff, and especially stuff from my brother things, because we always butt heads on thing when it comes to stuff like this. We just think differently. We're just like black and white, or yin and yang. But anyway, thanks for watching. Stay tuned on the next movie review. Later.